2, 1.
You're now watching two old farts making noises.
Joe, do you know why some businesses succeed and some businesses fail? Why some businesses grow and some businesses don't? That's what this show is all about. Business, business, business.
All right, everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
Wakey.
Wakey. Welcome back to the
Wakey.
Lost Dollar Business Club. And we have David Oldfart, who's back from action, back from a 2-week hiatus.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you, Michael.
What have you learned that you can share with the Lost Dollar Business Club from those 2 weeks away?
That you don't sleep very well on North Sea ferries. I think that's probably what I learned.
Whoa. You were sleeping on a ferry? That's illegal now. Let me tell you, that's not good. So yeah. You know, like when I had a gay cousin, when he went to Staten Island and found out the Staten Island ferry wasn't a ferry, he was very upset. He's also the one that went to London and found out Big Ben was a clock. He's also very upset. But I'm just saying, you got to watch sleeping on ferries.
There you
I
go.
didn't realize you could sleep on a ferry.
Whoa.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
Sleep on a ferry?
A night boat, you have to sleep. But that's another story.
That kind of a ferry. I'm sorry. I thought, hi, my name is Bruce. Anyway, go ahead. So.
Thank you for coming back. So, and we have Stephen and John. Welcome, John, our relatively new guest on the show. Good to have you back, John. This is
good to be here.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
John. Great to have you.
So I can be outraged.
Yes.
All right. So this is a place for safe outreach, and we're going to talk about hopefully this is not too outrageous, but the EdTech AI space. So big company Chegg, who does test prep theoretically, they got hit pretty hard. So we'll talk about AI and education and how that's reshaping education. You guys wanted to talk quantum computing, which is always a great topic. Very interesting stuff there, especially around, will it break the internet? That's the big question of the day, and I'm glad people are talking about it. And the bank crisis, which, boy, oh boy, 3 banks, maybe 4 now since March, I guess. So maybe more. So that's a question for the Lost Dollar Business Club.
And then
get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bendicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bendicoot.com, official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club. All right.
There we go.
All right, back in action. Bless you, John. All right.
So where do you want to start? Ed, quantum, or banking?
Let's start on the ed tech.
Okay.
So gentlemen, how much do we know about how education is being totally reshaped by artificial intelligence?
Forget that. The company that's having Chegg or whatever their name is that says their stock went down like 70%. That's because they can't sell the tests anymore to kids because now kids go to AI. So AI isn't shaping, I don't think, if you will, education. It's just making kids stupider and lazier.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Full stop, right? All I'm going to do, like, I can go into my phone right now and WhatsApp, on WhatsApp, I have whatever AI program. I could say to it, blah, 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 blah. It's going to tell me whatever. I don't have to do any research. I just have to ask a question and read. That's not helping you think. And so AI for in education, we're just going to have dumber kids that are going to be more sensitive, and they'll be little pussy wussies. And in 10 years, they'll go, you hurt my, like, enough. They're going to go to their AI mommy or daddy, and they're going to talk to them because it'll make them tell them they're special. So
I'm wondering though, if a kid can go onto an AI bot and ask for a paper to write them a paper. Couldn't the teacher could actually go back to the piece of software and say, maybe compare a paper to a generated one by yourself. Maybe ask the what I'm trying to say is,
Plagiarism paper.
no, ask the AI bot to review the paper and see if it's actually created by itself.
Right.
But you know
Yeah,
what?
I think-
I like that. But
I
here's
think
the
that's
issue:
what's happening.
if I'm a teacher and I have 50 students, that means I have to copy, or however they get papers now, put it into my program and go, who wrote this, right? And so, or however it would work. So you have to do that. And teachers already complained they have too much work. They're underpaid. Like the teachers are the ones who should be making $1 million a year, right? You want them to raise kids and teach them and whatever, right? The teachers make what,
Theoretically,
30,000.
yeah.
So I don't think they're going to do that. I think at this point, most teachers don't give a rat's you know what. They're less like, let's get in and get them out. I truly believe that. Even if you pay at a private school, not university, but a private high school or elementary school or middle school, I think that's the mentality now. Let's get them in and get them out.
Yeah. But
Okay.
you come a little bit off topic, Stephen. I mean,
I'm
you
sorry.
know, I mean, I know you love talking about the education of children, but I mean,
Stupid things.
this exam paper, people got hammered, their stock dumped.
Right.
Walter Kluis, which is a big Anglo-Dutch provider of educational and
Pearson.
Pearson's as well. All their stock got absolutely dumped. And the thing is now, what are they going to do? Because their business model has always been, we produce this stuff, we collect it, we put it in. It used to be in books. Now it's available electronically, or PDFs, or whatever. You have a special password to get into their database. So, what are they going to do? Are they going to pivot now? Are they going to say, yeah, you can still have all this stuff, but it's only available through an AI plugin?
Mm-hmm.
Or, if not, they're going to have to make sure that their market share and the products that they already have is so watertight that no AI is going to be able to get to it. Interesting.
But I don't think so, because AI is free. Like I can pay $9 a month and have the more advanced AI, which I guess helps me take over a small third world country, or I can do the free AI, which means I can just take over like America or Canada, and I'm good with that, right? So I'm like,
Yeah, but
okay,
the
so
thing
if I'm
is
a
that
kid, why would I pay?
Yeah, but you can only get to this stuff. I mean, like, let's say Walter's Kluwer, for instance, you can only get to the stuff because it's behind a paid firewall, paywall.
No, I understand that, but I'm just saying AI knows all this. Like if I ask them whatever they're going to give you, like this company that's going out of business or Pearson or whoever, and they say I need the test for Spanish American whatever, and they get the test and they can cheat like whatever.
Yeah.
But if I can go ask my AI the same questions and not have to pay,
it's only looking backwards, sir. It's only looking at stuff which has already been produced. Going forward, their business model has to be: we either build an enormous file, paywall that nobody can get into, or they're going to have to say, well, look, we're going to have some sort of plug-in here where people can get to this stuff in the same ways they were getting to it before, but they have to pay for it, even if it's via AI.
AI is an interface. Some people have said AI is like a new user interface to all of this information. It's just another way for us to access a massive database of knowledge. And and if these organizations do come up with some AI interface for their bucket of knowledge, that might be a way to do it. But I think what it also points to is what Sam Altman of OpenAI, in his idealistic sense, was saying, which is AI could become you all remember having one teacher who was really resonant with you, who was really accommodating, and AI could end up being that one teacher for every student because it can learn about their learning methods, they can learn how to communicate with each student. And so maybe AI will take over that role of being at least to some extent, of being the arbiter of knowledge for individual students.
That's pretty scary. There'll be no interaction except you're going to typey, and so we're going to have less
you'll talk to
net
it. You'll
people.
talk to it.
Yeah, but
well,
but
even
is
if you
that
talk
really,
to it though, but there's no interaction.
Stephen,
is
that what's scary about that? You have a generation of kids now, of young people, who just literally. I mean, if they could be born with a smartphone in their hand, they probably would have been. You know,
Well,
so
yeah,
the whole life evolves around that object which they hold in their hand. So I don't think that's. It might be scary for us looking back and saying, well, "Is that all you've got in life?" But for them, it's like, if I lose my phone, you know, it's worse than losing your virginity.
Well, is it really scary if you just said, Stephen, that most teachers don't give a damn? You know,
I don't. I make that's a big general statement. So let's just say, because I don't want teachers, write your comments there. I mean, remember David and John said that. I'm all for you. But no, it's just I think there's a large percentage of them. And one of the guys I was talking to, his mom's a teacher, and she's been a teacher I think for 30 or 40 years, and he was telling me was telling them like back in a certain time, kids were respectful, they were this, they were that, and she could just see it over the years. And the teachers are at a point now where it's like, listen, Johnny, if you don't want to learn, you want to be on your phone all day because now you can't. Like, there's no corporate punishment. Like when I was in school, if you were wrong, the penguins would slap you on your wrists, or you got a smack in your ass, right? You got the paddle. I was okay with that because then I was like, oh, I shouldn't do that again. But you can't do anything now because you're like, oh, call. Then you know what? Go. And really, we're just going to grow up with stupid kids. And then what you end up having is the tiger moms, the Asian moms, and they like run their kids in education like a Nazi concentration camp. And those are why those kids excel. They may have no social skills, but up here, they're smarter than everyone on the planet. And I don't think, and they may use AI, but I also think that's
not just the Asian mums, tiger mums. It's Asian mothers as well. Hindustan families, you know, also here in Europe. You know, the first and second generation Turkish families. You know, they give the girls the opportunity. They're just flying through the education. And then we say, well, why have you got all these jobs? Yeah, but well, you know, we know that boys are always behind. Teenage boys are always behind teenage girls anyway in learning.
Yeah.
But if it's there, they're going to consume it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the issues is that children are not encouraged to consume the education that's put in front of them. They just see it as like, oh, I have to do that. It gets in the way of me texting or whatever.
But that's, once again, it goes back to parenting. You don't teach your kids.
Which has come up with so many times on this show.
Because it really is. You have to have a basis for something, right?
I know,
and that's your basis.
What role is AI going to play in education? Because it's going to be playing a role. It has to play a role.
It's going to be huge. You're going to see like third graders writing Einstein type papers because you're going to be like, well, I don't understand this. And the AI is going to be like, here you go. So whether Johnny reads it or not will be different.
Teachers are going to, I think teachers need to, ideally, teachers need to know whether somebody's writing a paper off of AI or writing it genuinely from themselves.
Yeah.
But how?
Well, maybe something. Well, maybe, you know, we go back to the old honesty box. Maybe you just have to say, like, you know, I've written this. I have used, you know, the internet, Wikipedia, or whatever, and you credit that, or you credit as part of it as being an AI. But if you don't and you get caught, then you just fail standard. That's, you know, it's sort of an honesty box. Because
we could go back to the, you know, in classroom test, you know, write your essay, you have an hour.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's right. Those are good.
No, wait, okay, but you know, come on.
There's going to be a lot of kids that have blank papers because they forgot to read.
We'll probably have a lot of complaints, and then the parents coming and saying, that's not fair, but you know.
When I had those hour tests, I just managed to get my name down and the date, but that was about it.
Well, you know, those are tough things, Dave. Your name and your date.
Yeah.
No,
I have to have my name under my picture now. If not, I can't remember who I am. So
I've heard that. So I do know that Pearson, which is part of the FT group and all that other stuff for learning, their comment in the article that I read when the other guys were complaining about their stock dropping is like no one was prepared for this. And I'm like,
yeah.
I mean, I get it, and I don't get it. Well, here's why. I think when you sit in your little ivory tower, your little glass box, and you're like, we have the best whatever the widget is, and this in education. I don't think you think when AI comes along, all of a sudden it's going to change you. It's kind of like what we spoke about on the other show, Adam on the Eve. These guys in Hollywood are watching AI now edit movies, and they're thinking this is the coolest thing in the world. But once again, they're not going 2 years down the road where if I'm a producer, I'm like, let's see, AI costs me whatever the initial cost is for the program, and I'm done. And I can do it for every single movie now until whenever. Instead of paying the four of us, whatever our hourly rate is, to edit a movie, right? So it costs $1 million, let's say, to edit a movie for the four of us. I can buy an AI program for 50 grand. What do you think I'm going to do? So then these editors now are going to be out of work. So they're looking at like, boom. And I think these education companies did the same thing. It's like, we have the best product, we have the best this, and we have the best that. No one can touch us. And along comes, boop, 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 R2D2. Now they're screwed. And I don't think they thought, I don't think they thought that far ahead. I think people now are seeing that. I think people are like, oh my God, is my job next? Financial analysts and financial, these guys that do all these reports at Goldman and Morgan Stanley are all saying AI can do my job. They see it and they're worried because now there's understanding because they see the AI. What would you do with this? And it comes out with exactly what they would write. And you're like, oh, this isn't good. And everybody's cutting back.
Adapt, but they're aware and they're finding a way to adapt.
Well, they're trying. But Morgan Stanley just
Get the freedom and the flexibility of remote work in the lucrative tech industry. Bend your life around the world. Bendicoot is the premier course and community for thriving in a remote tech career. Join the revolution today. Bendicoot.com, official partner of the Lost Dollar Business Club. All right.
Okay.
Back. All right, thanks, gentlemen. So, wrapping up on AI, people will learn hopefully how to get through it. And
well, you wanted to talk about quantum computers, so that's going to be the ultimate learning curve, I think.
Oh, wait till AI gets a hold of quantum computing. Are you kidding? That's going to be awesome.
Well, when you put those things together, yeah, right.
Yeah, well.
The big statement about the article, which has been talked about for a long time, is when quantum computing becomes really accessible to even the bad actors, they will be able to break all of our encryption systems that we use for the internet today. And when that happens, then all hell's going to break loose. That's the concern and statement of it, because encryption, which is impossible for regular computers and very easy to do for quantum computers, that will be that'll change the whole paradigm. With that said, there are people coming up with, they call it quantum safe encryption algorithms that are actually meant to counteract that, and we'd have to maybe just make a smooth transition to that. But it was a really good thing to see it in the Financial Times. Thank you for sending it, Stephen, because
of course
it's a big, as they say, it'll have massive implications for all internet companies, and it's true. What are we going to do when quantum computing becomes widespread?
Right. Well, first of all, for people that don't understand quantum computing, I'm going to give you the layman's term, the way the geeks with pocket protectors have told me. So computers today and the internet today goes 0 and 1. And you get a 0, you get a 1. You get a 0, you get a 1. You get a 0, you get a 1. That's how it runs. Quantum computing does 0 and 1 and all the other letters and all the letters and all the other numbers simultaneously. So it produces, I guess, more X, whatever X is, but it's quicker thinking, quicker this, quicker that, and can break a code in about a second. So
it can do certain problems. It can do certain problems in parallel that existing technology, classical computers can't do.
Right. Correct.
So what are we waiting for then? Are we waiting for the whole of the internet to collapse and then we say, oh dear, we need to put a lock on the door? Because it's the train's already on the track. What is it, 2030? Right. People are talking about 2030, 2035. The Chinese are well down that track, as are the Brits to a certain extent, and the Dutch, to be honest.
No, I don't think.
There we go.
The article.
John.
Yeah, I was going to say that the article alludes to the fact that, we might be there in a decade or so, but at the same time they pointed out that to have quantum computing, the machine is essentially has to be at a ridiculously cold temperature. I think it was 240 minus 240 Celsius. I don't know. I could be wrong.
But it's like the temperature of space.
Yeah, the
Right.
temperature of space. Now, can you imagine, a computer that has that level of sophistication physically? I don't know how we get to a computer that has those characteristics. So I think it's going to take quite a bit of time to get there. And I think the other point that the article was mentioned was the amount of time where quantum computing is very sensitive, and
Yes.
and right now the machine, the current computing machine can only handle a computation for, I think it was seconds, if I'm not mistaken. So I think we're up. It's rather optimistic to think that we'll have massive quantum computing systems soon. I don't know. Maybe I'm being naive.
You're pointing to a really good. You're pointing to a really good observation, which is that right now quantum computing is in It's an engineering difficulty, right. It's an engineering challenge, because just right now you have to keep them really cold for traditional quantum computers. There's quantum annealing. There's quantum annealing that doesn't require that kind of cold temperatures. There are different ways to do it, but the IBM, for example, IBM's way of quantum computing requires those very cold temperatures. And in terms of the time it might take to make these more common, they used a metric that you might need 1 million of these quantum bits in order to make this ubiquitous. And right now they're only at 433 quantum bits. So we might be a long way away from this being able to solve the problems that would be very threatening. But then again, there's so much energy going into quantum computing that it might be broken faster than we think. But it's a good point that it is an engineering problem as much as it is a mathematical problem, because you just can't keep the computers stable enough to actually solve problems for that long.
But remember, back in the 60s and the 50s, when to have an IBM computer filled a room, a floor, and it would just do 2 + 2, right? And it was like, oh, it did 4. I'm so excited. Like the old-fashioned calculators. So while we're talking about the cooling and we're talking about this, I would say with AI and everything, 5 years, you're going to have quantum computing sitting on your desk like you have a laptop in the house.
Which
and it's not
amazing. Yes.
Yeah, and you're not going to need cooling or anything else.
No, I'll take the other side of that. No way.
I'd have to disagree with that, Stephen, simply because we'd have to go and steal every chip there is in an electric car, because we're running out of chips. They can't even build cars with enough chips in it. So how are they going to do that?
Well, could you use fish then instead?
Something that's more.
Wow. Boom. Thank you for. Hey, listen, I'm here till Thursday. Tip your wait staff. Anyway, no, I agree with what you're saying, but they're going to come up with synthetics. They're going to come up with this. They're going to run out of lithium because they're using it for the cars and then kill the planet anyway. Yeah. But my point is, I'm going to say, but what are we in 2023? I'll say by 2030, I'll go 7 years. Quantum computing, you'll be able to buy it as a person. Now, it may be like what the original computers were when you first bought them, this big, huge box, and it's going to cost stupid money, but an average person will be able to do it, and it'll do whatever it can do at the time. And I don't know why, if you're an average person, you need a quantum computer.
It'll probably.
I have to have one. I mean, that's.
He's an early adopter.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when the first desktop computers came out. With the old 80, was it 80?
We had the Radio Shack
80, the Radio Shacks, which they were called Tandies in Europe for copyright reasons. But and they were just wow. And then after that, we went to ATs, which were even the 286 chips, which was even faster. And then the CD-ROMs, and oh man, just at the moment you went into the shop and said, "Can I buy that?" It was already out of date. So I'm looking forward to quantum computing. Yeah. And as regards it being super cold, I mean, let's just have a nuclear winter, and the whole planet will be nice and cold, and all the computers will run.
Yes.
Not that I'm being cynical or anything, but
not at
all, David. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Isn't it also a kind of a physics problem too? Looking at the example that the article had of a quantum chip or a system. The actual chip was very small, and the rest of the machine was pretty big. I couldn't get the sense of the size, but it was pretty big. 7 years, that's gonna be, they're gonna have to throw a lot of money at it, and probably
They
companies
are.
companies are doing that.
There's
But
universities that are the one that are throwing. There's several universities that are throwing billions. There's several private companies I know of that are throwing more than that, and they're all trying to get. Because remember, if you're the first one that comes out with it, that's the new Apple.
That's
Right.
right.
And then really what's going to happen is Apple's going to be like, hey, we'd love to have a quantum computing and with the little Apple logo. So, the first one who does that is the trillionaire, so to speak. So I think there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. And we've been aware of this for about the last 15 years because we people that we know that are involved in it. So I have a good understanding of where it is. So that's why I'm saying 5 to 7 years. I think you can have one if at the level of boom is going to keep going where it is, then yes, I think you'll get that. And I think now with AI, you may even help them out a little bit. And so I'm thinking, like I said, 5 to 7 years, we'll have a quantum computer on our desk. So
it's interesting. I was listening to a girl this morning, and she was saying, I program all this stuff at universities, and then she said, I'll run it all, and then bloop, it'll stop halfway through. She said, I don't know how, I don't know why. I have to go on to all these bulletin boards and on the internet and looking all the textbooks to find out where she went wrong in the code. She said, "No, all I do is I just post that into ChatGTP, for instance, and it will say this is where you went wrong, and would you like us to fix it for it?" So the human error and the software side of it going towards quantum computing, that's a yesterday's problem. So once we solve the physics, I don't think I don't think we're ever going to have any software problems going forward. That's a yesterday problem.
That's a. I mean, self-correcting software is what you're really pointing at, because once AI can teach itself, because it's not perfect, there's still a lot of room for people to oversee ChatGPT's code. There's still a lot of security issues and errors that it could introduce, and it does introduce. But once it can learn kind of in real time, that's going to be a game changer. To use the metric that John was pointing at, they end the article. I just pulled up the article. They end the article by saying that right now the best quantum computers can do about 100 operations before they fail, before the errors become too great. And to implement the algorithm that would break the internet, you'd need 1 trillion quantum operations before it fails. So it's a huge gap right now. But we are I wanted to just remind us that we're in an exponential world. And so things are happening very fast. And so I'll send you an article on that from Wait But Why for next week.
but that's the whole
you
thing,
just have
right?
to remember, like Moore said that, didn't he? Moore's law. I mean, everybody laughed at him when he first said, "Well, everything will get half the price and twice the speed." Everybody laughed. Who's laughing now? So I can see that all happening. It's a mega train, and exciting. I'd love to have all that computer power. I could run my whole life, the house and everything, and
well, it could do.
Who would need government?
They're saying that you could bring consciousness into a quantum computer. So just combine AI with the quantum computer, and then you've got somebody to manage your house for.
Oh, goody! Now Zuckerberg can live forever. Got to look forward to.
That doesn't. I was more concerned. I was more concerned about having your consciousness, Stephen. But there you go.
I'm going to live forever. Well, that's a given. I've been around a long time, so my consciousness in the computer, everyone's screwed. I love it. So,
all right.
Well, and then with this, go into the banking crisis.
Yes.
This is going to be awesome.
Yeah,
this is like 2008 all over again, which is too stupid to learn.
Is it worse? Actually, it might be worse, right? At least in magnitude, maybe.
I mean,
I was gonna.
Well,
Go ahead, John.
John's smiling, so he's happy.
Yeah,
about
John's
that.
ready to go on this one. Go, John. Go, John. Give it, buddy.
It's not a good scenario. It's obviously we're in a worse position than we were in 2008 because you know, the dynamics
Now,
of what's going on.
John,
it's
could
actually,
you just define who we is? Are you talking about the US or the rest of the
in the
world?
US, because
Okay.
so banks, for 10 years were dealing with zero interest rates basically, and so they made loans, that would, let's just say, were had an interest rate of 4% on average, just making a sort of an average number, and they were investing in bonds that were paying a lot less. So now all of a sudden in 15 months, interest rates have shot up 400 basis points, 4%. So now they're close to 5, and the bonds that they had purchased, right, have losses, have huge losses. So people start looking at that and they start chatting and saying, geez, this is not sustainable. They're making 2% on their loans, and they're losing on the other side. So
when you just
everybody starts
about those losses, John. What can you give us a magnitude for those losses, like give the common man an understanding of what we're talking about?
So
The
all these
common
banks,
man.
all the banks that had failed, basically, the losses were equivalent to the equity that they had. So that it wiped out the entire equity of the bank. So
just on those few bad bets, basically.
But but the bad bets were FTX, and the bad bets were crypto, and the bad bets were SVB, the bank, going, we love entrepreneurs and we're going to do this. And Republic did the same. And it's sort of like, we like this and blah, 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 blah. And it was sort of like, are you kidding? It's like 2008, we learned nothing. We learned nothing from 1929. So basically, if we would have let what was supposed to happen with SVB and these other banks, all these billionaires would have lost all their money. And they went to Washington and they go, oh, no, you have to bail us out. So this $250,000, right? But the $250,000, protection, they're bailing people out for like $7 billion. So it's very interesting. The government has a protection thing that they're not really adhering to. But if it was some small shit bank in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, and it was just normal people, oh, I'm sorry, you only get 250, right? But because it was all the billionaires and tech people, the government's like, oh, no, we have to protect them. So people, put your money in real banks, like go to JP Morgan, Northern Trust, Goldman Sachs, go where you know the government's going to bail out, because these banks can't afford to fail. And it's true, they're too big to fail. You got to go where the billionaires put their money, because if you're in some local little bank and it goes under, you're going to get your 250, you're screwed. And that's it.
The only point I'd like to say also is that these bank failures are it's a classic bank failure, because it means that so investors or people that are looking at balance sheets of banks start talking, and that talk becomes, look, you know what, this bank's not looking good because they have all these bond losses which are not marked to market, right? So they changed the rule about 10 years ago, where the bonds, you don't show your losses. So they're not taking the losses, but the losses are there, right? So everybody starts talking. So you better take your money out. The bank doesn't look good, so all the big money starts taking money out, because technically the bank insurance is up to 250. So if you got $10 million there, or you're a business, you know what? Let's just take our $50 million and move it to another bank. So that starts, a run on the bank, and then it goes on Twitter, and people start talking publicly, and the next thing you know, anybody that has a bank account says, you know what, geez, I'm taking my money out.
Right.
And so you have cash, you give out cash, and that's at some point you need to generate cash. Okay, but now you have to sell your bonds to generate cash to pay out your depositors, and shit. Okay, now you have to take the losses. because you're selling the bonds and you have to recognize the losses. And so you're beginning to recognize the losses, and you have equity on your balance sheet, and now the losses are greater than your equity, and so you have a mismatch. I don't have enough cash, right? And so because people are asking for their money, and so it's a self-fulfilling, and so the bank fails, and so that's when the Fed has to come in and say, okay, we have to close the bank. We're going to pay everybody out when we said it was going to be 250. And we sell the bank to some other big institution. It's a classic bank run.
Is that the right thing? Is that the right thing to do for the government to be backstopping these big investors, these big depositors? Because Stephen clearly has a good point that the small banks or the average Joe at these small banks would not get that kind of treatment.
Yeah.
Are you getting $250,000 per account?
Per account, yes.
Per account. So if you just say you have, let's just do this one for an example. If you just say you have $100 million, okay. So if you have an investment banking account, it's up to 2 million. So like I'm like, just say I have 2 million at Goldman Sachs, and I have whatchamacallit, and I have 250,000 at some PDU. No one ever heard of the bank, or I have $1 million there, or whatever. You're done. But if I have $100 million at your little bank, I get 250 back, and maybe I get something on the dollar because I'm just a farmer in Iowa, let's say, right? And they're not the billionaires in Silicon Valley, which is what SVB had all their money. Republic had money like that. So all these banks that had all this money, it's 2008 all over again. The government's bailing it out, but because it didn't make the news the way it did because they all tied it to crypto and FTX, right? That was kind of the straw that broke the back.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's crypto, it's this, don't worry about it. They really haven't, like John just went through, they haven't really delved into it between the interest rates, between crypto, and the list goes on, that they all felt they were invincible. I read an article in the FT that said that SVB was about to do another bond deal 3 months before they were going to file for what they did. And also they took risks that were mega. Like if you had a startup and then were the business plan, they were writing you a check. Like they didn't worry about payback or anything, because why? All these billionaires are putting their money there and they were giving interest rates. So either it's got to be the same for everybody. And it's great that you're a billionaire, you have a couple $100 million, that's nice. But if you don't treat everybody fairly, at some point then you have anarchy. And that's where this is going to start heading, especially if a little bank fails and people don't get their money.
A loss of faith in the system.
Yeah,
I think the loss in faith in system's already done.
This morning as well, the gold price has gone up to the highest it's been since 2000. So everybody's putting their money back into more traditional places of value.
The thing is,
it seems to be a very US centric problem there, sir, because you're all small banking. It's not so much in Europe.
Yeah,
couple small banks. The way the banking system in the US is set up, plus social media, as almost like a perfect storm of sticky brown stuff.
It is. The social media aspect is accelerates the whole process, right? The other thing is that until very recently, the banks were paying 25 basis points on their on deposits or interest rate accounts, right? And so, at some point, everybody wakes up. Even the common man on the street says, "Shit! What? Interest rates are now 4 or 5. Oh, let them. Oh, the money market's paying 4%.
Yep.
Geez, what the hell am I putting my $100,000 here in the bank?
But forget that, John. T-Mobile and Apple have banks. They're banks now, and they're paying 3% on your money.
Apple's 4%.
I'm sorry.
They're 4 and 5%.
And T-Mobile is 3. But that's what I'm saying. So you don't even need to go, and as they're banks now, they're not whatever, but they're banks. So if you're at JP Morgan or whatever case they want to be called this week, and you're getting 25 bips or 50 bips on your money in your savings account, you can literally go to Capital One, Apple, any of these, and they're paying more.
Yeah, they're all paying more. So it's essentially, so then you have then instead of people going to the to the bank teller and saying, I'd like to withdraw my money. It's
Right.
just being done quickly and electronically from the bank to the brokerage account or into a money market. And so then, the deposits are leaving the bank, and it's just as I explained before, those deposits need to be sent. If you don't have the cash, okay, if we don't have any more cash left, sell the bonds, right? Bonds that were at 100%, 100 were at par, right, now are valued at say 70, right, or 80, and so you got 20% lost right there, right? So then the bank is doesn't have the cash, and then they run out of money. That's the way the fractional banking system works. You take in deposits, you make loans. The loans are long term, and sometimes you take cash and you buy bonds, right? Hey, they're supposed to be safe, and so you thought, but in a zero interest rate world, the risk that increases, because if rates go up, your bonds go in value. So it's pretty classic. And if the bank takes does higher risk type of loans, they could be even losses there, but essentially it's a pretty classic run on the bank.
It's a 1929 run, but people don't read history books anymore, so they don't have a friggin' clue what John's talking about.
What?
If you like the Lost Dollar Business Club, you should subscribe. If you like it that much, you should also tell a friend of yours. So you should subscribe and like. Also, you should put comments below so we know what you're thinking. Tell us what shows you want to hear. Just help us make it better.
So who's lost $1 this week? And who's found $1 this week?
All right.
Well, I'm not the only one David cuts off.
Well, I'm gonna use this as my lost and found anyway, because it's related to what we were just talking about. I think a big loser in this, from my perspective, is KPMG, because they were the auditor for Silicon Valley Bank and First Republic and Signature Bank. And in fact, at First Republic and Signature Bank, and this was in the FT, so it's pretty well known, the CEOs were both former KPMG partners. Maybe it's worth noting that KPMG also audits Wells Fargo, Citigroup, and BNY Mellon, and the Federal
Reserve. Out of business. They're going out of business. KPMG sucks. They all suck. All these accounting firms, pardon my French, if you have kids, cover their ears. They suck cock. Full stop. We used to when we had a public company, we used to have the auditor, and the auditor would say to us if something was not right, how would you like me to do this? I'm like, you're the friggin' auditor. You have a CPA. You tell me what I need to do to be compliant. Why are you asking me what I want to do? So these auditors are so full of crap. And the other thing is, they don't teach the kids in university. They don't teach them anything. They go and audit a company. They don't have a friggin' clue of what a debit, a credit, or a T account looks like. All they know is they read something in a book and they stick it in a computer. And all they do is the bank paid them, we'll say, what, $50,000 for the audit? They rubber stamp it and they're done. Nobody does their job. So we're going to have more failures of more things because nobody does their job. So yeah, that is a big KPMG.
So technically, Stephen, then it's a loss.
Oh, very much.
That's what Michael said. Oh yeah, I think it should be a loss for a lot of them. PwC get caught up stuff in Germany. KPMG gets caught up. I mean,
before Steve goes off on another one, have you got a lost and found this week or not?
Who, me or Mike? Who, me?
No, John.
Okay, so now I was going to say, it's a little esoteric, but I think the Fed has a big loss, because remember that after 2000, the Fed essentially took over the supervisory role of the banking system, and they have done shit.
Nothing.
Right? They, what were they doing? They They had it in their preview. They just okay, no, everything's fine.
Listen, Woody Allen, aka Janet Yellen, isn't doing squat. She's just sitting there looking pretty.
It's just a real
That's
loss there.
that's
They could have. They had it in front of them. They just didn't want to do anything.
That's true.
Well,
cost everybody.
that might have been for optics reasons, for political reasons.
Yeah, but
Billionaires' money.
remember that the Fed is supposed to be apolitical, not influenced by the Congress, right?
But who believes that?
They got to do a job,
Yeah.
right? You got to be a policeman. You got to do it. Right?
Yeah,
Instead, it's costing us billions, right? It's
more,
costing us a lot of money, and it's going to continue.
Yep.
Yeah. And
I think the failures are already at 600 billion, something like that.
yeah, I mean, we've had every bank that's failing. It's another big bank failure. That's the greatest since ever. The 10th largest bank fail, the 11th bank fail. The next thing you know is a much bigger bank will fail. Maybe not at this point.
Cool, like Bank of America. The whole world will implode. I love it. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Thanks, John. You made my whole day.
Yeah. So there's
as long as I have my scotch and cigar money, I don't care. No,
Stephen,
they're calling right now.
Yeah, they are.
Oh,
All right, that's
that European
all right.
ring.
That's it. That's like, hi, my name's Bruce. Would you like a baguette? Anyway, so here's my loss. Here's my loss for the week. Actually, I think it's a found for the SEC. I give the SEC thumbs up. They're bringing an insider trading case against an employee from OpenSea who, I guess, bought and sold NFTs because he had insider information on it going up or going down. So they're filing insider charges against him, and I'm okay with that because you kept saying it's a security, which it technically is. It's not a currency. It's an algorithm, and you treat it like a security. So the NFTs are securities. I'm very proud of the SEC doing it. Now, I think they need a better guideline on what an NFT really is. But this guy literally was buying like NFTs at $1, knowing that they were going to go up to like $50 million and then selling them. So technically insider trading. So I applaud the SEC. It's definitely a found. Where's my found? There you go.
There you go. There you go. And it sets a good tone, Stephen. I'm glad you point that one out. It sets the right tone.
Yeah, I like it. What the?
Yeah. The only problem I have with that is he's a little small potatoes. When we have big cases, they punt it. They're a bunch of pussies, those guys.
Ooh, John, look at you getting excited. I like it.
No,
John, getting excited.
Yeah.
Outrage.
No, the thing is, it's always the same thing. They go after a small people,
right?
And they make a big thing about pursuing them. But all the big guys get away with it. Either it's individuals or companies. They just don't have the balls to actually enforce the laws that they're in front of their belly books.
They're just people, John.
Yeah, they're just people. Yeah.
David, what do you have in lost and found before John starts like taking down the whole,
to take down the whole world? I'm going to throw it into the group because it's just one of the, I love all the food stuff, so I'm going to throw this into the group. Again, it's a company called Alpha Cuts. I think they're based in Israel, and
is this the whale poop?
No, it's not the whale poop. That's carbon credits. We'll come back to that another week.
Oh god!
But that's a fun topic, right?
Indeed, they've just produced the first cultivated steaks.
From what?
Originally from Angus beef DNA. So
I'm going to be eating fake steak now? Oh my God! Stop that! That's ridiculous.
So the thing is, of course, that for me, it's a lost and a found. But I'm interested to know what everybody else feels about it, and we will vote. I will make the correct noise when we're voting on it. It's a lost and a found for two reasons. One is because they've found a segment of market of a whole load of people who think, I don't want to eat meat. I don't want to be killing things. So they have all this artificial meat. So there's a whole market. There's a whole market for that. Okay. So it itself is is a found dollar. But the
Sure.
other side of it, of course, is this huge meat lobby. Not to say anything about
That sounds
what's
wrong on
happening
many levels.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, you
it
went to
does.
that party.
Oh,
But
that dirty mind of yours.
this beef market in the US, for instance, in Argentina, places like that, who are going to be trying to stop this
I'll tell you
however
right
they
now,
can.
it's
So that for me
Yeah.
is a lost dollar.
Okay.
yeah. Coming from Argentina, I'm not worried. I'll tell you why. There's 2 or 3 companies here in the U.S. that are they're all beef, all vegetable or whatever, non-meat burgers and stuff.
This
They
is
are
actually
losing.
meat. This is actually
They're losing
cultivated
money.
meat. Okay.
They're
Right.
all
So
losing
John
money.
is so for you, John, it's a Michael.
Oh yeah, that's a down. That's a down. Don't
If
force
you have
that.
to, what do you think? Of course, it's down.
Yeah.
Scotch and cigar and steak. I don't want scotch and
Yeah, that's
cigar and
definitely
make
a
believe
loss.
steak.
Yeah.
Please. Oh
Yeah.
my God. That's the dumbest. Those people
Never
should be
gonna be the
shot.
same. Never going to be the same.
It's
Yeah,
never
no,
been.
Beyond
Gentlemen,
Beef is losing shitloads of money.
they're
all
losing money every day. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crappy crap. Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to have you here. Don't forget, you can watch us if you want to, or listen to us on wherever you get your podcast on the Business Club at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. New York time. We'll see you all next week. Don't forget to subscribe and like the channel. It helps us out. Don't forget, leave some notes below so you know what you want to talk about next week.
Right at the bottom. All right, gentlemen.
Ooh, look, it was directed and produced by us. How exciting.
Wow, Steve
Hey, now.
Wow.
Yeah, David
Steve
Oldfart. Oh, look, now there's no music. It's just that. Really? That's it? What an exciting ending. That's because we're old. Hey, don't forget, subscribe and like, leave some comments below. We'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next week.